Good afternoon. Today we are still working on things in real context, but instead of doing the proportions, we are working on scale drawings in real context. So it's still, we're looking at proportionality of this is the map, this is real life. So it's going to be in proportion when we look at maps. They are scaled down in proportion to real life. So a scale drawing is a copy of an object that is proportional to the dimensions of the original object. Peyton, if I can hear your voice, you shouldn't be talking. Especially when my back's turned and I know it's your voice. Hi. So the scale drawing is a copy of an object that is proportional to the dimensions of the original object. Like I said, a map. So your map is scaled down very small. So if we look at this island, this is not the size of the island in the ocean, right? That's like, a little bit bigger than my foot. An actual island is going to be much bigger than that, but it is proportional. So it's scaled down proportionally. So in the map below, each square represents 1.5 miles. Now on my board, it's in color, so it's really easy to see the squares. On your paper, that graph isn't as easy to see, especially when we get down to the bottom one. So when it gets time to work time, I'll have the page up here, and if you need to come up to check to make sure that you know where the squares are in your paper, you can. So for the map, each square is 1.5 miles, and we're going to use that and what we've learned about proportions to be able to figure out the distances. So our first question says, how far is it from the Camelback mountain range, which is I-4? So we're going to go to the I, and we're going to go to the 4. And we're going to say, okay, that's right here. That's where we're going to start. And we're going to go to the southern forest, which is I-12. So it's right here. And we're going to see how far that is. So if we know that each square is 1.5, what do you think we have to do to figure out how far is it from the Camelback Mountains to the southern forest? What do we have to do, Henry?
We have to see how many squares that is and then multiply it by 1.5.
Very good. It's that easy. Oh my goodness. This is way easier than the math we were doing yesterday. Right? So it's not overly complicated. So don't make it harder than what it is. It's that simple. We know that each square is 1.5, and we're going to multiply that by how many squares. So we start here. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 squares. So you do the math. 1.5 times 8.
I got
Henry?
12.
Yeah. And then we want to put our labels. 12 what? 12 cats? 12 miles. Well, because it just says miles up here, we're just going to put miles down here. Okay? So each one of these, you're going to answer those questions. So you're going to answer the one for the map. Let me erase so I can scroll up. Just 1 second. Then on the bottom, we have our our house. So each square, this is where it might be tricky. Some years the copier is better than others. It might be hard to see the squares. It looks like your squares might be a little bit easier to read than last year's squares. But if you need to come up, you can come up. You're going to actually draw the furniture the size that they are supposed to be, label them so we know what's the bed, what's the dresser, what's the desk. Make them the correct size. If it's 3.5 feet, is it going to be a full square? Right? You got 3 squares and then a half a square. So make sure that those halves are half the square. Lucas.
For that first question where it says I4 and I12, couldn't you just do 12 minus 4 times 1.5?
Yes. Sometimes on some maps you might have to turn. These questions are easier. So you could just count straight across or you could just subtract. But sometimes if your starting point is here and you're going to here, you have to, depending on the route. That's what I'm trying to get at. These ones are a simpler reading of the map, so the route is easier, so you could just do, 12 minus 4. That's absolutely correct. Claire?
Like, so you do like the 4 to 12, do you have to count like the 12 square? When you got that?
So when I counted it out, I started on the 4th square, right here. So my first square was at the 5. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Okay.
So you count
The last
hopping
one.
to the last square, but you don't count that first square as well.
Yeah.
So like Lucas said, you could just say 12 minus 4. Henry?
The second one, with the furniture, do we get to pick where the furniture goes?
As long as it'll fit. Yes, you're going to design your own room. Doesn't have to be functional. Just fit it in the room and make sure that the size of the furniture is correct and that it fits in the room. So would we want to put something right in the middle?
Probably not.
Not something big, because then there's not going to be room for the other pieces of furniture. So you have to think through where you're going to put your furniture. Addie?
When it says like 5 by, like the bed that is 8 by 5, how would you lay that out? 'Cause,
So you could do 8 going across this way. 7, 8, and then 5 down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you could make it like that. You could turn it. Okay. Thanks. Yep. Kaylin.
When I was drawing it, I was like, it's such a big bed.
Yeah.
It actually is more square because it's 8.
So maybe it's, queen size bed or a king size bed. Yeah. Probably not a twin size. Any other questions on today's assignment? Remembering what is due tonight at the end of the night, Grace? Khan Academy. Make sure that when you're finished with today's assignment, you're checking Khan Academy. Make sure checking to see if you have past assignments you have to do. If you do past assignments, you must email me and let me know that you got it done so I can check it and get that missing off of Blackboard. Get this week's assignments done, so when I come in tomorrow, you don't get a missing put in. We want our fun time with Mrs. Napoli tomorrow afternoon for those of us that don't have any missing assignments. Remember that math packet is due on Tuesday. If you turn it in by tomorrow, I'll be passing it back with corrections that you can make to try to get the full score. So your assignment, Khan Academy, math packet. If you are watching this at home, we hope you are well. We hope to see you soon, and I hope you have a wonderful day.